welcome to another episode of HR Unlocked, the podcast.
Welcome.
We're so excited to have you here. Abby, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I can't complain. And I'm sure you're wondering, we have a special guest today, Tim Foster, better known as Timothy.
Yeah.
Tim, T. Hey, man, how's it going?
All those. It's going great. How are you all doing?
We're great.
Good.
We're great. So good to see you. So a little bit about Tim. Man, I met Tim in 2019.
I think so.
Is that right? Yeah, he's been getting on my nerves since.
Wow.
But so Tim, he's a financial analyst at an Alabama-based company. He knows a lot about spreadsheets. Shout out to Tim. You do some math.
Right, a lot
Just
of
a little
numbers.
bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit of math. Yeah. But he's such a great asset to not only my life, but I think the community.
Oh, wow.
His parents have a church. We love them so much. Shout out to the Fosters.
Oh, yes.
Foster, if you're listening, shout out to you. But yeah, welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
appreciate
for coming to HR Unlocked, the podcast. We're super excited to have you here. And, as me and Abby was preparing for this episode, we was like, what can Tim bring to the episode that would kind of brighten it up, right? So we thought about, and I know you're in a lot of meetings, right?
Oof.
What is those one words or phrases you wish you could say during a meeting that you really don't want to be in?
The first one that comes to mind is, bruh.
Like, what are we talking about in the meeting? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what? Can we speed this up? Could have been an
Right.
email. Abby, how about you?
Ooh, stop. I just get tired. I feel like sometimes it's just the same conversation. It's circular. It's
Yeah.
really what it is. It's
Yeah.
circular.
And it goes back to, we got to make sure everyone's aligned, right?
And they're not.
They're not aligned.
Yeah. And I'm sure, especially with the finance industry, you guys are talking numbers and you know what I mean? And it's very minimal, like increments and things like that. So you got to be laser focused.
Yeah, and so a big part about being in finance, especially when you work with different departments, is you have people from different backgrounds. So like me having a finance degree, I kind of have a different approach than I would when I'm talking to someone that like has an engineering background because they want to get straight to the point.
Right.
They don't want to know
That's a
all the
good
fluff. Give me A, B, C, and let me know that's it. So having to change that approach a lot of times is
Yeah.
important.
And when you're talking to HR, we just love to talk. So.
Right. Tell me, is the budget there or no? That's it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we like to, but we ask a lot of questions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Very inquisitive. You got to
it's
be.
part of it, yeah. I think I would say, okay, so we're not getting anywhere. I would say a lot of stuff. We're not getting anywhere. So leader 1, 2, and 3, let's take it offline. We love offline. Let's take it offline, and y'all figure it out, do some homework, and then let's come back next week and figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Because I think everyone is saying something. Everyone has a point of view.
Right.
But no one has a solution until somebody brings everybody to the forefront and be like, okay, we've heard all these point of views. What's the solution?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is brainstorming sessions, which
Yeah,
to me,
right.
don't get me wrong, I love a brainstorming session in person. I think right now, especially how I work in my organization, a lot of them are done via Zoom.
Yeah.
And I don't feel as though they're that beneficial. So I agree, let's take it offline. Let's think about it and bring to the table solutions. And everybody, bring a solution to the table.
Right.
Then we can decide which of them is going to work.
And maybe it's a small group. Maybe it's me and you, let's come up with something. Tim and you, y'all come up with something, and then we
Right.
bring it back. But everybody trying to come up with a solution at that moment probably is not always great.
No, I think it just becomes a jumbled mess, especially you got so many people on a call. Like sometimes like we have HR network meetings and it can be 20 people on a call. And so sometimes I feel as though you get lost in the mix. So.
Yeah. Tim, during your mini meetings, is there a moment, or have you experienced a moment where somebody's just like, guys, this is not working. Let's just go and let's bring it back. Have you experienced that yet?
I have experienced that. I think that it almost was in the same words that you just gave us. It's just, okay, well,
Maybe I was there.
Yeah, sometimes you have to reel it in.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's easy for people to kind of go on tangents, and
Yeah.
we lose sight of focusing on a solution.
Yeah.
and we're just kind of bringing up the same thing over and over again. And so I hate that because I'm like, we're not getting anywhere, as you said. So it is important for someone to kind of step up and just say, all right, I think we need to reel it back in.
Yeah.
This is what we have so far. And, let's take this back and we'll circle back, or send your notes in. At that point, let's turn it into an email. Let's, let's do something like
turn
that.
it into an
I
email.
I like turning into an email. And he said one of those words, to circle back.
Oh yeah, circle back.
My God.
So Abby and I, HR Unlocked the podcast, we are professionals and we're millennials. And we like to be a little petty sometimes. So what's one thing in your organization that you're sick of?
Yes.
I would say, I think we just really circled back on it. Oh my goodness. So what I'm trying to say is, we talked about repetitiveness,
Yeah.
and that is probably one of the biggest things. But there's a balance to that. I know that when you work with a lot of different people, it feels repetitive sometimes, but sometimes you're having that same conversation with different people, which
Right.
maybe could have been handled better on the front end.
Yep.
But I just hate repetitiveness. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of what gets me.
Yeah.
Do you feel, what is your experience being, a young professional in the workplace? Because you're probably dealing with different generations, correct?
Yes.
So if you could speak a little bit on that, like I'm not sure in terms of like management, how that's set up, but I'd really like to hear your experience with being younger in the workforce and maybe even dealing with, people underestimating what you can bring to the table.
Yeah, so that's been my story ever since I first started working out of college. And I've always been, if not the youngest person on my team,
Right.
one of the 2 or 3 youngest people on the team, or even in the organization.
Wow.
So I'll go back to my very first job out of college. I was 22 and I was working in wealth management. And I worked with financial advisors who were older than my parents, people who were 3 times my age. And it took a minute to build that credibility with them. And so I had to step out and just I'm in their face all the time, asking them questions, even if I wasn't really interested in their answer, just, saying in their face, asking questions and trying to buy them in. Because at the end of the day, my job was to be a resource for them, but they weren't going to reach out to me if they didn't trust me or didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. So I just realized I had to get past those barriers. And once people get to know you, they're typically more willing to reach out and kind of, let you be a resource for them.
Yeah,
But there definitely are
absolutely.
barriers with that.
For sure. And I think actually, just since we're talking about it, I just recently went on a training within my organization called negotiation training. And with that, one of the key things that they spoke on was removing all preconceived notions, right? And I think that can sometimes be difficult for people because you come into an organization, like you said, you're young and everyone's seeing green. They're seeing somebody straight out of college, but
No,
you have
that.
so much that can be brought to the table
Right.
that somebody who is 60 or 63 may not be able to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So that collaborative effort is so important to really understand that just because we're from different, backgrounds, generations, doesn't mean that what I can bring to the table is less than what you can.
Exactly.
That's a really good point, Abby. And sometimes the older saints don't know either. They just been going with the
Right.
flow, and they got
It's
promoted.
always been that way, and we're
Right.
not going to
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
it.
We've always done it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good.
Absolutely.
Good call out. Good call out.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that leads us to another point.
Okay.
So let's talk about what companies say, right? So what is your thoughts? I know a lot of companies use this terminology when they say we're like family.
All right. So for me, I feel like don't talk about it, be about it. Show me.
Don't
So
talk about it. Be about it.
anybody can say we're like family here,
Right.
but I will be honest, when it came to, previous jobs that I've had, when I've had interviews and things like that, I've been told we're like family, and I got there and it was,
Toxic.
yes.
Not family.
That's my, I feel as though when people say, an organization says they're like family, it can be very toxic. Because to me, family is not something that you choose, right? Whereas an organization is something that you choose to be a part of. Don't get me wrong, I do believe in found family and things of that nature, but I do think the core relationship that you have with your employer is based on finances and well-being, right? Whereas the relationship that you have with your family, not so much. So I really think that it is different. Me and AJ were just talking about this the other day, and I think you mentioned community being a better term to use.
That is, community for me is a very good term. One, because communities, it's so diverse, right? And you don't know who, if you're like me and don't want to get to know your neighbors, you don't know who's down the street, right? So it's kind of like you get into an organization and you really don't know who's there yet, right? You've met a recruiter, maybe you've met the hiring manager, you've met maybe their boss, but you don't. Why I say boss like that? Your boss, but you don't really know who they are until you get in there, and it's a big community. So I feel like companies should adapt the word community. Right. First, it speaks to diversity.
Absolutely.
Right? And we love a diversity, right? We love a diverse workforce.
For sure.
And it includes everybody, right? It kind of hidden on those, hello, but it's diverse and it's inclusive because you really don't know. And when you talk about family, to your point, which is a really good point, we need to bookmark that, trademark it, whatever. You don't really choose your family. You're born and
you're there.
They're there. Right.
Here they are. I don't get to choose who I'm related to, really, right? But a community, you don't choose. I mean, you can choose your community because you decide I'm going to live in this particular area. And I'm going to work in this particular organization or this environment. I like the vibe of the people I talk to. So I think that's a very good point. You don't choose, but then you can choose the community you want to be a part of.
And you all work together, right? Like if we think about just like in Birmingham, this is Birmingham community. If law enforcement just stopped working, things would fall apart. If, the health department were to close down, that would fall apart. So we need to view it as that. All the departments working together make the company fully functional.
Absolutely.
And that to me is the key to community.
Yeah.
So,
Tim, what do you think about that word community?
I love it. I feel that it perfectly sums, just like you said, what this group means to you. When you go to work, you have that group of people you can go to if you need to. And as you mentioned, everybody has to do their part, and it helps us all to achieve that goal. But family is something different.
Right. Yeah. And when you have that community, you don't have to talk to Joanne next door.
Right.
Because she getting your nerve. She got that dog outside barking all night. It's okay. You can skip Joanne and go to Peter, right? Or Jason.
Because there's multiple different resources,
right?
Right.
So it kind of goes back to Tim's point about engineering. They want a certain way. They want it, give me step one, step two, all that fluff, small talk, leave it. We just need to see it. And that's okay, right? Yeah. Maybe you skip engineering and go to, I don't know, procurement. And they want to talk and, okay, well, why are we spending this? Is there a better option? Is there a cheaper option? So I think if we adapt that community feel in an organization, people will actually like it better. They'll feel better about it.
For sure.
Welcome to the HR Unlocked, the podcast community.
Yeah. We love that. We love that.
We love it, right?
And I think also with family, there can be so with family, we do a lot of sacrifice, and it's a beautiful sacrifice. It's selfless, and it's something that, I think is amazing. Yeah. But when we're applying that same term to an organization, there can be, how do I put this? I don't want to say the word. I think that there can be some mistreatment.
Yeah.
So to use that term to me, again, can be very, very toxic because my family, it's your blood. It's somebody that you don't choose. You're willing to do those selfless sacrifices for them. For my employer.
Some of them.
Okay.
My God.
I'll just go ahead and say it.
Like, I am willing to make sacrifice, right? Yeah. But the ultimate
for compensation.
Yes. And my ultimate goal is that my sacrifice is recognized, and my credibility is built. Yep. And I can, further push my department, have great, interactions with other departments.
Absolutely.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Whereas family, your goal is to make happiness with your family members,
Yeah.
to ensure that, you continue to have a great positive, interaction day to day.
Yeah. And we all have family members that you may not communicate with all the time, or they may get on your nerve.
Mm-hmm.
They may talk too much, because y'all know I don't like all that talking. I think I said
That
that
needs
last
to be
time.
your tagline.
Right,
That needs to be
I
your
need to say that.
tagline.
And we have family members who we love and we talk to every day.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't really get to choose, to your point. And I really love that. Somebody write that down. You didn't really choose them. Like, so at the family reunions or the family gatherings, you walking in and there they go. So you got to tell your other cousin, your favorite cousin, look at her, look at her, look at her. Hey, how you doing? It's so good to see you. See, Tim, so I know you have great family, right?
Yes.
But I know there's some that are more favored than others. And what I mean by that, you may like me more than Abby, and which is okay. I think you should.
No, he liked me
Wow.
more.
But how do you navigate that, in correlation with the workplace? Like, there are favorite people at work that you would rather talk to versus others. Do you just kind of, hey, how you doing? Or do you, give them the kind of like fake it till you make it? Like, what's your take on that?
So I believe in balance.
Okay, love the balance.
So I'm going to be cordial with everyone. If you ask me how my weekend it was, I'm going to answer no matter who you are. But I'm not asking everybody how their weekend was. So,
Okay.
I'm going to
Okay.
be mannerable and joyful with everyone.
Yeah.
But of course, I have my favorites,
Right. Yeah.
who I feel more comfortable with,
Yeah.
and who will know more about me in my personal life.
Yeah.
But I just navigate it by keeping everyone in the space that I feel they should be within my life. So there are some people who, if we work together and something's going on, I may text you after work and say, hey, did you get a chance to do this? Or, hey, I have a question? Or, just checking in with you. But some people I might not, because I don't have that bond with you.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's nothing negative. It's just
Yeah.
once I figure out how we move.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it goes back to balance too. Not everybody you can have the same type of relationship with, right?
That's right.
So I completely understand that. And I think all of us experience that.
Yeah, and I think HR has a unique place in that, because we have to remain unbiased,
Yeah.
and we have to almost treat everybody the same,
Yeah.
in a sense. But there are leaders that I talk to more, and it could be because of they need more development, or because we just get along a lot more, or we've built a better relationship.
Or it could be a point of they're going through a transition in their department. Because there's some times where I, haven't talked to a manager outside of good morning, how are you, that type of thing, for a while about their department. And then unfortunately they have some turnover or something happens and we talk more. So I really just think also contextually it depends on the timing and what's happening within that area and department they're working in.
Because our role, we basically have to communicate with every department, every person, right? Whether it's hourly or salary, or should I say exempt, non-exempt. Whether it's the custodian or the janitor to the executive vice president of people, or sales or marketing, whatever. Sometimes we have to interact with everybody. So there's a posture, right, that we have to maintain, and unbiasedness, and a openness, right? Because there's so many different forms of communication. I think we should do an episode on communication only, because there's verbal and nonverbal, right? There's closed and there's open, and we'll do a training, and y'all, pay us for that. But I think the family feel, to sum it all up, we're a big family here, are major red flags to me.
I agree.
Now, if they changed the word community and they really, to Tim's point, lived it, and we could see it through maybe social media or referrals or people that work there, I think that would be good. That would be perfect. But sometimes it's not like that.
Yeah.
And if they say family, because family gets messy, right? And we,
Yes, it does.
would you terminate
Ooh.
your mother or your father, right? Would you give a corrective action to your sister or brother.
Yeah.
And sure, we probably would as professionals, but it would be difficult.
It would be difficult.
And we may have to, not sit in on that conversation because
we have innate biases. With my mom,
Exactly.
I'm going to be like, protect her at all costs.
Right. Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Right.
Whereas, when it's just a colleague, don't get me wrong, I just feel like I'm able to be more neutral in decisions.
When it's a community, neighbor Joanne, it's easier. 'Cause,
Oh, yeah.
She need a final. All that talking she do in the morning time. But your mom or your dad or your brother, it's like, you may teeter-totter on it like, I don't.
Yeah, you may not really get across everything that you need to say in order to finalize things.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And that's why I agree with you. I definitely do not think that family is the right term to use.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that you can't have close relationships with people that you do work with. I thoroughly believe I've made really great connections through work relationships. I mean, us.
Obviously.
So it is possible. I just think when organizations use that as the main attraction, it to me it's not always the most honest, and I would advise all of our viewers to be very selective in any positions or companies that use that term.
And maybe adapt the community term and then pay us for telling it. Tim, any last words? What is your what people say, elevator speech?
Yes.
So I just want to, what you all just said kind of made me think about something. A lot of times when jobs use that word family, I feel like it can sometimes blur those lines because we have to have boundaries with family, of course, but in the workplace especially as well. And so my boundaries at work are going to be a lot stricter than they would be with my family.
That's a good point.
So you're going to get those boundaries and not those family boundaries in the workplace is how I feel.
Absolutely.
But as I said earlier, I just feel like show me better than you can kind of say, every time we're like family. No, make me feel like I'm a part of this community as we've developed today.
Ooh, I love that. HR Unlocked, the podcast, has officially gave you the word community. Organizations, if we see you using it, we're going to do a cease and desist. Can we do that?
Just give me my money.
Tim, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you all for having
efforts. And you look great.
Thank you so
much. Are you going somewhere after this? Are you going to go to a bar?
Lunch.
It kind of gives brunch a clock today.
It does give brunch.
Yes. I was thinking the same thing.
Yes.
Y'all not going to invite me to the brunch?
Oh, yeah. Maybe we should all go.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, y'all were talking like y'all were going to brunch by yourself.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
We'll send you the deets.
Yeah, after the fact.
Wow. So
we'll put it on your calendar.
Next episode, it'll just be me on the podcast. Abby's eventually terminated. But yeah, Tim, thank you so much. Anything else?
Yes.
I think that's it for me.
Okay. Well, perfect. Well, until next week.
Thank you all. Oh, thank you.
See,
well,
Lord have mercy.
Wait.
Well, hold on a second. So Tim, she threw you off there.
I did. I said until next week. Let's go.
Oh,
Let's
we
go
love
back
that.
again.
Wait. Okay, wait. We got to tell the people to follow us.
Oh, yeah.
So, I just love podcasts. It's just I love live recorded podcasts. Right? Tim said, "Wait." I love it. But yeah, follow us on all our socials. They're in the description below. We appreciate you listening. All three of you. We appreciate you coming out and giving us hope. Right? Isn't that what Michelle about himself?
Okay.
But it's fun, and we enjoy doing this. We enjoy having these conversations. Just like that you can't script that, right? That's authentic as it gets.
Absolutely.
But yeah, follow us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're watching. Go ahead and subscribe somewhere.
Yes.
I think it's
over there. I think
over here. Okay. Yeah, subscribe. Turn on the bell so you know when we post. Anything else I'm missing? Yeah, be a great listener and viewer.
Yes, and
give
write
us 5 stars. Yeah,
actually write us too if there's any questions, HR questions, or if
send
you
us
want to
your
be
HR complaints.
Yeah, if you want to be on the podcast, let us know.
Let us know. We would love to have you. Maybe you won't mess up like Tim did. But
And
you know,
me, I threw him off.
I mean,
I'm
you
sorry,
did.
Tim.
What happened?
It's all right.
What happened there?
I don't know. I
My
got ahead of myself.
Okay, well, it's on.
Oh,
was on the cue
until our next meeting.
Let's have a great week.
All right, see y'all later.
Perfect. See y'all.